Okay, we're holding the two dots. The Mishnah says that if a person says to a woman, "Hiskachi li lacha shloshim yom," he gives a woman money, and he says, "I want to marry you," that the marriage should take effect in 30 days from now. And then a third party comes and gives her money for marriage within 30 days, to be married immediately. That's the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, who is she married to? She's married to the second person. Although she already received initially the money for marriage to take effect in 30 days, but since the effect of that act of kiddushin was not yet effective, therefore when she takes the money from the second person to be married immediately, the immediate marriage does not allow the initial marriage to take effect in 30 days. There was only a Maisa Kedushin. There was no Chalos Kedushin. There was an act of Kedushin, but there was no effect of the Kedushin. So the second one preempted the second. She took the money in marriage. So she has to reimburse him. She has to repay him. But the question is, but factually, the marriage, was it meant to take place in 30 days? So since the second man married her before the marriage, she became a married woman. It's not retroactive. It's to take place in 30 days from now. She's married to the second person, not to the first person. That he gave it to her to take effect in 30 days. So what is she during this 30-day period? A single woman. When does she become a married woman? 30 days. But when 30 days come, she's already a married woman. So the effect, you cannot affect the married woman. She's married already. No, we're not saying. She agreed to it. Okay. What about lobo acher vikicho? B'toch shloshim. What happens if the third party did not preempt the first person? Mao. What do you mean? What's the question? Now, it's interesting. There's a halacha that when something takes effect at a later date, now what affects anything? You have to have a kinyan. You have to do. You have to be involved with an instrument of transfer. For instance, let's say I sell you a field with a document. I give you a deed, and I said the field should become yours in 30 days. Right? I give you something that should be yours in 30 days. Before the 30-day period comes, and it's signed, witnessed, everything. Proper document. And when 30 days comes, the document was destroyed prior to that 30-day, that date. It was destroyed. It's not a valid transfer. That's called kol sekinyano. That the instrument which affects what's going to take place later has to exist at the time that it's going to affect whatever it's going to affect. But if it doesn't, it's not there at that time, it's not a valid, the kinyan, the transfer does not take place. Another example, we spoke about kinyan chalipin, right? The barter issue. If I give you a garment, so you take the garment and you give me your cow, right? That's the exchange, a cow for the garment. Or item A for item B, that's bartering. So good, it's an exchange. That's called kinyan chalipin. What about if I say, take the garment now, and what you give it back? The person after the bartering, he gives you back the garment. He gives you back the garment, but I said, we barter, take my garment, and your cow should be mine, but it should only be mine in 30 days from now. In 30 days, it should take effect. The effect of the barter, the present barter. But he took back the garment. The one who exchanged it for the cow, the cow's not his in 30 days. Because the garment which brought about that exchange was not in the possession of the seller when it was meant to transfer. Okay, that's called kol sekinyan. The kinyan is not in place at the time of the effect of the kinyan. So now we have a question. A man gives a woman money. Harei Mukadeshes Li gives her $100. And that it should take effect in 30 days. So if the money is intact, she has the money in 30 days, what's the halacha? She's married, not a question. It's no different than the document being existing at the time that the transfer is meant to take place. What about she spent the money? Before the 30 days comes, she went and she spent the money. Is that the equivalent of the document not existing? or it's something better than that. Because since factually she owes him the money, this is what we call the shibud. There's a debt for the money that was given to her for kiddushin. That debt, that lien, so to say, is the equivalent of the money exists. There's a trace of that money. When the document is destroyed, there's nothing. When the object is given back in terms of the barter situation, there's no trace of that original. But since over here the money is owed, the money that was given for kiddushin is owed, although she spent it, that's sufficient. And that's what the Gemara says. We'll see. Lo ba'ache v'kitshim zoch shloshim. No relevance to it. There was to take place. No. But there, that was all one Maisa Kedushin. It was to take effect immediately. That was to take effect immediately. Right? Lo ba'ache v'kitshim zoch shloshim. A third party did not preempt the first person to marry within 30 days. Mau. Ravu Shmuel, the Amri Tarvayu, Bukudeshes. Rav and Shmuel both say she's married. Afal pishin sachlo amos. Even though the money was eaten, literally, it was spent, she's married. So Mar says, my timer. What's why? Because we're going to cite two cases earlier where it's not the case. We had two cases. Mekadesh b'milveh, right? We had the case. The first parak, we had it multiple times. A man lends a woman $100, $1,000, unlimited amount of money as a loan. Right after he gives her the money's still in her hand. The original money that he gave her. He says, you know something? Forget about it. Let's use that money for kiddushin. Harei mukadeshesli with the $1,000 you have in your hand. The original coins I gave you. Ain't mukadeshes. Why? Because the moment she takes those coins as a loan, who owns the coins? It's her coins. He can't marry her with the coins. If he wants to marry her with waiving the debt, that's called hamnos mechilas milver. So since that has value, that's something he's giving her now. But the coins, if he wants to marry with the coins are her coins. He's not giving her anything. That's mekadesh b'milveh. Then we had another case in the second. That was in the first parak. We had a case in the second parak. A woman was a shomer. She was a custodian to watch something on behalf of this man. And he says to her, now, the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, very interesting. We had earlier in the second parak also, it's Gemara Bava Kama, that if a person steals something from someone, so we say the victim cannot consecrate it or cannot sell it. Why? Because it's ain't a b'rishuso, because he's not in control of it. And the ganef and the thief cannot sell it or because it's not his. This is ain't a shelo, it's ain't a b'rishuso. Right? That's the Gemara. So Tosa speaks about a case. What about a situation where a person's a shomer? Person is a custodian of someone's item, and the one who owns the item wants to consecrate it. So you'd say, well, it's not in your reshus. It's not in your reshus. So Tosa says no. That since we say that the domain of the shomer, he's acting on behalf of the one who owns the item, so that's considered, that's in his domain. It's under his control. It's under his control. It's like something being, you have something in Europe, in the United States, you want to consecrate or sell something in Europe, in your apartment in Europe. But it's not physically accessible right now. No, but that's considered, that's within your domain. That's within your control. When the thief has it, it's not within your control. But when so since the shomer, he will release it to the owner whenever the owner asks for it, right? Right. So then you could consecrate. It's not a problem. So this was the case. A person gives an item to a woman as a shomer, and then he says to her, "Harei mukdeshesli with the pikodin. I'm marrying you with the pikodin, with the item that I gave you for safekeeping." So when she has it, it's not hers. It's the husband's. It's the man's. So what is she? She's mukadeshes. What happens? We discussed in the second parak. It turned out when they went and checked the pikodin, most of it was gone. At the time that he married her, with that item, it wasn't there. So the Gemara says, if a pruta was left of that original pikodin at the time that he says, I'm marrying you with the pikodin, she's mukadeshes. But if it was post mishav a pruta, if less than a pruta was left from the pikodin, she's any mukadeshes. So we have two cases at opposite ends of the spectrum. Mekadesh milva any mukadeshes. Why? Because he's marrying with something which is not his. Mekadesh pikodin, with the item that's given for safekeeping, with the woman she's the shomer, she's the custodian, Mukudeshes. Now we have this interim case. He gives her money, so there either the money exists or doesn't exist. Here we have it given to her in marriage to take effect in 30 days, and she spends the money before it takes effect. Is she married? Is she not married? Rav and Shmuel says Mukudeshes. Al pish nisach lamos. Why? My timer. Hani zuzi lo lemilva damu. This situation is not comparable to the loan case, and it's not comparable to the case where it was given as a pikodin, where at the time that he married, he thought the money was intact, and it turned out there was less than a shava pruta there, which we said, ain't mukudeshes. She's not married. But in our case, she spent all the money, she's still mukudeshes. Why? Where's something? What? But he gave it for marriage. But if we're saying the concept is, yeah, but if we're saying that the instrument which brings about the marriage has to be there at the time of the effect, was it there at the time of the effect? She spent it. She said it should take effect in 30 days. No. No, it's not. If I dance in front of you today, and then afterwards, in 30 days, well, dancing in front of you today is the equivalent of spending the money, because you owe me something. That's a debt, right? That is the act of marriage. It's no different from giving you the money now. I'm giving you that service. I give you a service, I give you $100. Same thing. She didn't buy, she ate food. It's gone. She took the money, she threw it into the ocean. Right? She had no benefit, but she took he gave her the money, she destroyed the money. Okay? So it says it's not comparable to the case of the loan or the pikodin, where when he married her, it turned out there was less than a shava pruta. Why? Pikodon b'rshus demarakom misachli. Because let's say the money, something happened to the money when it was in the possession of the shomer. So whose item was whittled down to less than a shava pruta? The owner. The owner's. V'hani b'rshus didokom misachli. When it was expended here. It was in her domain. In her domain, and it was given to her for kiddushin. The milva nami lo dami. It's not comparable to the loan. Why? Milva lo tzoni? No. When he gave her the money initially as a loan, it was given to her to spend as she chooses. It wasn't given for kiddushin. Now he says, well, the money that I gave you, I want to marry you with that money. But again, he's married with money which is her money. Then it's okay, because that has value. Waiving of the debt, that's something giving you at this moment. Right? But if it's the coins, even though they're original coins, she's any mukudeshes. He says, Hari b'toras kiddushin yavinu nelo. But here it was given as what? It's not comparable to the milveh, because there was given as a loan that he wants to use that money, which is hers, to marry her. But here, what was the money given for? It was given for kiddushin. So the act of kiddushin was done. The effect of the kiddushin is delayed. It should take effect in 30 days. Therefore, she's mukudeshes. Good.
What about if the woman with the money spends and buys something of value? A vase or whatever.
Doesn't make a difference.
But it's there.
But it's hers. But it's hers. It's hers. It's hers. Right? But again, since it was given to her for kiddushin, it's not like the loan. I gave it to you a loan as a loan. It's not marriage. So the act of marriage never took place. You want to convert a loan into an act of marriage. It can't be converted. Because the only way an act of marriage can be an act of marriage is if the item of value is given in marriage. You never gave it to her in marriage. You want to marry with something which is hers. You can't marry with something which is hers. No. The chiddush is, even though the money doesn't exist, they're saying, if the money would exist, it's understood. If this money is there when the marriage is being affected, is being activated. Could I ask you a question? I give you a document. Let's say you'd be makadosh with the shtar. And the shtar would be this: in 30 days you should be married to me. The effect, so she takes the instrument of transfer, which creates the marriage in 30 days, and when 30 days comes, the shtar no longer exists. It was burnt. right? There was a fire in the hotel room the night before the chuppah. Is she married or not married? She's not married. Because what affects the marriage? The document. There's no document. There's no marriage. So what difference does it make? Of course there's a difference. That's what we're talking about, the difference. Because the money, there's still a trace of that, because she's indebted to be married to him because of the money that he'd given her. You understand? She's indebted to marry him because the money was given to her. It was given specifically for marriage. So there's a lien on her to be married to him. That's the rationale. Well, that's the next discussion. That's the next. There's going to be an argument. Let's say before it took effect, she says, "I changed my mind. I'll repay you." Could she back out? She's consumed the money, or even if money exists with this. We're speaking. She consumed the money, and she wants she changes her mind. It's in the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Mishlokish in a moment. We're going to see whether she could back out. She could change her mind or not. Or is it too late? Once you shoot the arrow, now it's just a question before it hits its target. No, that's like the document being burnt. That's like, no. He says clearly, I'll do the act of bia now. It should take effect in 30 days. She's not married. That's like the document being destroyed. What happens in 30 days if the document is destroyed? Is she married? Yeah, but it's delayed. It's a delayed effect. No, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. The effect, because there's a principle that whenever something is affected, the instrument that affects it has to exist at the time it's being affected. So the shtar, the same thing. B is like shtar. But the money, because it was given specifically, and you owe it for that, so there's a lien issue over here. You took money and you owe the money for the marriage. In the first case, 2 cases, it has no relevance to that. It's not a monetary issue. Yeah. No, it's not like a loan because the money initially wasn't given as a loan. No, but here the lien is marriage. There the lien is not marriage. What does that have to do with anything? You understand? You can't. Correct. Exactly. This would be like Chalipin. This would be like Chalipin. Right? You barter, it should take effect in a week. It's not valid.
Well, I always thought that the act of bia makes the marriage
immediate. If that's the way he wants it. Look, you construct the effect the way you want to construct it. Right? So when you normally marry a woman with a ring, the marriage is immediate. What happens? He says, I'm giving you a ring now in marriage, but the effect will only be in 30 days from now. He could say that. That's what we're discussing over here. Okay? Let's discuss it. Here she doesn't want to back. Here she's not backing out. Right.
Her relationship, and she wants to back up. Let's suppose that the marriage is local. We're not binding her the day that she takes and she spends the money, and she wants to back up. Is she a debtor?
She's a debtor.
She has a loan?
She owes him the money.
It's not a loan. She just owes him money.
Whatever you call it, what you want. I take money illegally. I take money legally. Whatever it is, I thought it was mine and it was yours. Inadvertently, I spent it. Do I owe the person whose money it was? Do I owe him? Is it debt? Call it loan. Call it what you want.
So let's just take this. She spends the money. The moment she spends the money, before the kiddushin takes place,
Correct.
she has a potential debt, let's say, or obligation to the
If the marriage.
If the marriage does, so she has a potential.
Correct.
So now do we reason that if the marriage does take place, that is
It's not forgiven. It's not forgiven. You have to have the instrument of marriage. If the instrument of marriage is not there when it's effective, it's not a marriage. It's like the document. Well, money was given. That isn't for kiddushin. That's called an instrument. You're not buying the woman. You're not buying the woman. When you marry a woman, you're not buying. Like you give a document, it affects the marriage. When you give money, it affects the marriage.
She spends the money.
Good.
Okay. Now the day of the marriage comes about.
So because the instrument
is not there. Okay, so how is it that the marriage
but
takes place?
because the obligation to marry is there. Because there's a debt. There's a debt. Money was given for marriage.
It is what's creating that marriage called the elimination of that debt.
Correct.
That's what's happening. You have to have that formulation.
Which means that links it. That's called the original money. It's the equivalent that original money exists when the effect is taking place. Of course, it could be linked to the original amount of money that was given. The debt and the money is synonymous.
If this agreement structured that original down payment as a loan,
It's clearly not. It's nothing.
and then at the time of the wedding, he gave that loan.
No. Oh, but what is he marrying with? With the benefit?
The benefit of the forgiveness.
No, so that he's giving us something at that moment.
So it's very similar.
But it's much less. The value is less. Here he's marrying with the full value. He's giving $100. When you forgive a loan, the value of forgiving a loan is less than the full value of the loan. What would you pay me to forgive a loan?
But in each case, from her point of view, the value is exactly the same because she's consumed with the money.
I understand.
So
Okay.
long as you consume the
Okay.
money,
I'm not. This particular detail is not relevant. If I'm married with the forgiveness of a loan, the marriage could take place even on the 30th day, because that is the act of marriage. And now I am giving you something. No. The marriage, the act of marriage took place 30 days ago. It happens to be when it's effective. When it's effective, it's not the waiving of the loan, because there's a trace of that original act. That original act affects something at this moment. Let's give you a document. I'm marrying you with a document. It should take effect in 30 days. When did the act of marriage take place? And the document is in her possession. When did the act of marriage take place? 30 days ago.
marriage can take place 30 days.
The act of marriage, not the effect of the marriage. The effect is 30 days later, as you structured it. But when did the act of marriage take place? 30 days prior. I did an act of marriage 30 days prior, and it's effective in 30 days. Same thing here. I did the act of marriage 30 days ago, and to be effective in 30 days. But why is it effective? Because there's a debt of that money which still lingers on, so therefore that original effect is effective in 30 days. Right, that's what we're talking about. Okay. So now, the Gemara has a question. What happens if a third party, Mitzvah says that if a third party comes and marries her in the interim before the 30-day period, she's married to the second person, not to the first person. Because when the marriage would have been effective, she's already a married woman. Right? Although the act of marriage took place earlier, correct? But something blocked it. Rabbi Yochanan says she could back out. If the marriage did not yet take effect, she could actually back out. Why? What's the rationale? Osi dibur vatal dibur. I said I will marry you. So now I'm annulling by saying I will not marry you. That's called dibur vatal dibur. We'll see. Rish Loksham eno choseres. Lo osi dibur vatal dibur. She cannot retract. Well, the Gemara will explain. It doesn't mean just dibur. It doesn't mean words, annulling words. Because here the words were coupled with an action. She took money. So, I mean, how does she, now saying she doesn't want, the act of marriage took place. That's a physical act. Dibur cannot annul an action. Dibur can battle dibur, but not dibur. Eser Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Person appoints an agent to tithe Terumah. We had it in the second parak. A person cannot tithe somebody else's produce unless he's appointed as an agent. Before he did the tithing, the one who initially designated as the agent says, I don't want you to do it. I'm canceling the agency. And now if he subsequently should go and do the tithing, it has no value. Why? Because he no longer represents, he's no longer a shliach. Although he originally was designated as the agent of the person, so here the appointmentship came through words, so he can null it, he could cancel the agency through words. Detail makes no difference, because if we're dealing with Osi Dibur Vatal Dibur, it's irrelevant whether he knows and doesn't know. It says, in Bitel Achelotoram Bitel. If he cancels the agency before he does the act of tithing, it's canceled. And subsequently, if he does do the act of tithing, the original agent ain't Trumah so Trumah. The Trumah is not a valid. It's not a valid tithing. So what do we have? Originally, the appointmentship came through a verbal designation, and now he retracts with verbals. You see, Dibur is Matal Dibur. So how could you, Rish Lakish, say over here, originally gave her the money, I will marry you. Now he says, she says, I'm not interested any longer. Kosi Dibur Matal Dibur. He says, so Rish Lakish says they're not comparable. Shining the scene is mostly Arisha, the Chimasedomi. When there it's words, you became agent through my verbal designation. So I designated you through words, I could cancel you through words. Here, the words were coupled with an action. So so the action was called the Masa Kiddushin. It was called an action of kiddushin. The instrument of kiddushin was done, so the arrow was was shot. The missile was launched. It just didn't happen yet. So what do you want to retract? You want to retract something that's right, that's in motion. Words cannot. It's not words retracting words. It's retracting the effect of this action should not be effective. That's Rish Lakish's position. So Rashi explains, even though before the words, Rabbi Rish Lakish says, Lo osi dibur vatal dibur, but he meant to say because the words gave meaning to the action. That's what he means. Eisvei, that, because we'll discuss it. Just get cases, the other case. Hashaleach get li'ishto. Person designates a woman, agent to deliver a get. And now the husband catches up to his agent, and he says, I don't want you to deliver the get. He has to be informed that he's been canceled, because otherwise you could have very serious consequences. She thinks she's divorced, and she remarries. It's adultery. To be continued.